Prequels are hard to get right. Writing a new story set in an already established universe has so many challenges. You have to work within a rule set, define lore and characters, whilst also trying to add new things that don't break anything that have already been set up. The audience already know where the story is heading towards, and so the real skill of a writer is surprising and thrilling the audience on the journey, and a very skillful writer can add things that change the way the original story is viewed. Good prequels make all installments better, but a bad prequel can damage the franchise as a whole. A great example of a bad decision made in a prequel that does damage that ripples into the other films is in the MCU. Nick Fury is a character that is mysterious and unknown when we first meet him, and he remains that way all through until the end of Phase 3. We get little information about him, who he really is, where he came from, what he has been through. What we do know is he's clever, he's badass, and he is missing an eye. His eye patch is one of his defining characteristics. It reinforces his mystique, whilst also showing that he's lost parts of himself in his journey to become who he is. We learn nothing about his eye until this moment in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Soldiers trust each other. That's what makes it an army. Not a bunch of guys running around shooting guns.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
It hints towards a dark and complicated past, betrayal, hurt. It has left him untrusting, scarred and secretive. What happened to his eye bleeds into his personality, cuts into who he is for the rest of his life to who he is today. And in Captain Marvel, the writers make a decision that I think completely ruins this. Turns out it wasn't really a friend, it wasn't really a betrayal, it was a cat. I mean, not a real cat, it was an alien monster, but nonetheless, it was a cat that scratched his eye. This is why he wears an eye patch. It wasn't through betrayal, it wasn't through any combat or a fight. He was just sitting down, holding Goose, and Goose scratched his eye. I think that's stupid. Now, some might argue that this still works. The situation is intentionally ironic, it's supposed to be funny, and Nick Fury is embarrassed about this, so he created a fake story, lying to build up a sense of mystique and to shroud the true story. Some argue that this adds to his character, that this myth is self-made, but to me it just doesn't land. I just don't think it works. This takes a quintessentially serious and quite dark character and makes a mockery of him, makes him a joke. And a lot of people like me hate it, because this is now canon. This is Nick Fury's past, and every time I see him in a subsequent film, I'm going to think about how stupid he was to lose an eye to a cat. This is a small example of how a prequel can ruin things. It's a very small scale. When prequels go wrong, they can go very wrong and ruin things in a wider scope. But when they go right, they can be amazing. Andor is a prequel. It is a direct prequel to Rogue One, which is in turn a prequel to the original trilogy. I could spend this whole video gushing over Andor, explaining why I think it's one of the best TV shows ever made, talking about how good the acting is, the directing, the vibe, the music. It is good. No, it is brilliant. But today I want to show the power of a good prequel by focusing in on how this show affects one scene, the throne room scene at the end of A New Hope. The final scene of a wonderful movie, a celebration of the success of the main characters. Luke, Han and Chewie have done it. They have successfully destroyed the Death Star. The rebels have won a massive victory over the Empire. The music is a triumphant variation of the Force theme, like a ceremonial march to honour the hero's success. And the film ends with this shot. Our protagonists, the main characters. It is a joyful ending to the film. But now, after Andor, I can't help but feel that there is an emptiness, a void in this scene that is in a beautiful juxtaposition to the emotions the scene is trying to evoke. These people, they literally joined the rebels like a few days before this. The time frame is approximate, but being generous, A few weeks at most. They became symbols of that rebellion, yes, but they were not the ones that built it from the ground up. And yes, without Han and Chewie, Luke would be dead, and without Luke and his ability to use the Force to actually nail that impossible shot in the exhaust port, the Death Star would still be around and Yavin would be gone. These three are the reason this mission was a success. I understand that, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but I feel the scene feels slightly hollow, as there are people that we know are not around anymore that deserve to receive as much credit as these characters are getting. And that is the beauty of Andor. It focuses on the real people of the Star Wars universe. It doesn't focus on these characters. It focuses on these characters. The small people who aren't imbued with the Force, who haven't got the best ship in the world. It focuses on those who are living their lives normally and how through their oppression under the authoritarian and brutal rule of the Empire that they are called to rise up against it. It is about sacrifice. It is about hope. People like Andor, Karis, Brasso and Lonnie, the countless people who we see put it all on the line, sacrifice everything just to move the cause forward an inch, holding on to the sense of hope that one day maybe it'll work, maybe they'll actually succeed. And the person who obviously encapsulates this the most is Luthen, the mastermind that funded, armed and encouraged all of the different rebel factions. He created a network, laying the groundwork for the Rebel Alliance, tying them together, accelerating their assembly into one organization, one faction. Luthen sacrificed himself, his life, his humanity, his reputation. He says as such in his amazing monologue in season 1. I did a whole video on that scene, so go watch that if you really want to see me dive into his character. He held on to hope. I burned my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. He knew he wouldn't be there to see the hope that he was fighting for come to pass. And in doing all of this, in making the hard choices, the hard decisions to do what needed to be done, he alienated himself. And even in his death, he was shunned.
I'll have to disagree. It's everything I know about Luthen that makes me believe this is real.
We're talking about someone who's been a thorn in our side since we began building this alliance.
Did you know him?
Andor didn't have anywhere near as much of an influence behind the scenes, but he secured the credits needed to fund the rebellion. He helped transmit the Death Star plans. Time and time again, he put his life on the line for the vision of the future. And again, he didn't live to see his dream of toppling the Empire materialize. This throne room scene is supposed to be a grand celebration of the success of the rebels. The music, the visuals, the golden medals. But now when I watch it, I can't help but think of all of the forces that were working behind the scenes. It makes me think of those who aren't there to receive a medal. So you're probably thinking to yourself, so Rambles, do you think that Andor ruins this scene then? Not at all. I think it makes it better. So it still makes sense in the world of Star Wars, right? Luke, Han, and Chewie, and Leia, and R2-D2, and C-3PO are the heroes that the rebellion needed. They successfully did what no one else could do, and are rightly being rewarded for it. The emptiness I'm feeling doesn't ruin the scene. It makes it deeper. It shows the cost of what it means to create something like this. It shows the loss that needed to be endured when facing the authoritarianism of the Empire. It highlights the joy and relief that follows when that is overcome, but it also makes us pause and reflect on those who aren't here. I just can't help but feel that there are many people missing from this lineup. People who should be there, but aren't because of what they had to sacrifice to get here. This is the beginning of that sunrise that Luthen knew he would never see. Andor is an experience. It opened up a whole part of the Star Wars universe that we have never really seen before, and it went on to defy all expectations. It not only made Rogue One a better film, fleshing out one of the main characters, turning Cassian Andor into one of the most interesting, complex and courageous characters in the whole of Star Wars, but it also created waves that ripple into the rest of the films, deepening our connection with the rebellion and to the people of the Star Wars universe. That is the power of a good prequel. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was a fun one to write and make. I think you can tell that I really loved this show. Let me know in the comments if there are any other scenes that Andor has changed for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I also stream live on Twitch at Rambling Man Plays, so come over and say hello if that's your vibe. Link is in the description. Have a blessed day, folks, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!